Hey guys, this is Jason. My next classic review I decided to go with is a Disney film, and there are a lot of great ones that I picked. And for this month, we are going to be looking at a childhood favorite of mine, The Little Mermaid, directed by John Musker and Ron Clemets. And it is the first film from Disney to start the Disney Renaissance era that would continue in the 90s, and it is about a mermaid named Ariel who dreams of going to mainland but is forbidden to from her father, King Triton. But after she rescues a human from drowning, that human being Prince Eric, who falls in love with him but unfortunately causes some issues for other characters around her, and it catches the attention of Ursula, the sea witch that wants to make a deal with her. So this video is going to contain spoilers, which I'm sure you guys already knew was happening because a lot of people have already seen this film over the years. People have memorized it, people have sung the songs a whole lot, but I'm still making this warning because there's still not everyone that has seen this film because people are born every day. Now, this film is directed by John Musker and Ron Clements, who previously directed The Great Mouse Detective, and later did other Disney films like Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, The Princess and the Frog, and Moana. And this was the one that helped Disney go back on top because the people at Disney were not doing well with their previous films in the 70s or the 80s. They've had some enjoyable films around those times, but none of them were doing as well as they hoped in regards to the box office. It wasn't until they did The Little Mermaid, which that one became a huge success for Disney, and it was a big return to form for them, where this film was the one to start the Disney Renaissance era, where we would later get films like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Mulan, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This film was considered to be a fan favorite for a lot of people, myself included, where people would sing a lot of the songs, make references to the film constantly. Now, this film is loosely based off of the Hans Christian Andersen story, which, by the way, the movie Frozen is also loosely based on a Hans Christian Andersen story, where the Hans Christian Andersen version is completely different compared to the Disney film. And it was also pretty dark and depressing, where in that story, the mermaid gets her tongue cut off so that she would see the prince, and after the sea witch marries the prince, the mermaid turns into sea foam and dies. Yeah, it is that depressing and dark. But of course they had to change that and not go in that dark and depressing route. I remember watching this movie a lot when I was very little. I would have a lot of fun watching it as a little kid, but then one day when I got sick and couldn't go to school, I was around 7 or 8, I think. At least that's how I think I remember it, but I do remember rewatching this film on a sick day, where I was starting to pay more attention to the story and the characters back then, where when I was very little I was like, yay, this has animated characters and talking fish and mermaids, yay, I'm enjoying this, I'm a little boy. To being the 7 or 8-year-old where I started to understand more of what was going on, I was like, oh, so this is the story that they were doing, and of course understood it even more when I got older. Also, just out of curiosity, did anyone ever have this VHS tape of The Little Mermaid where it would start with Jodi Benson, the voice of Ariel, talking about other trailers for other Disney films? I had that VHS back then, and I remember enjoying that back then. And growing up, I did love watching this film after watching the VHS tape multiple times and watching the DVD multiple times, and of course the Blu-ray as well. And now that I'm a full-grown adult, I can now rewatch this film with more of a critical eye and look at it more as a film and completely remove the nostalgia from my head just for this review. And I rewatched this film recently, and I still think that this is a great movie. I still love the movie to this day, and maybe that's just nostalgia talking, but I don't care, and I'm still gonna look at this film from a critical eye. Does it have flaws? Sure, and I am gonna mention those, but at the end of the day, I don't freaking care. I still love this movie. And it's mostly because of the story, where it focuses on Ariel and her dreams, where her dream is that she wants to go on mainland. The only downside to that is that she is forbidden to go there. She's not allowed to go onto mainland. She's not allowed to talk to humans or find anything that belongs to humans. So that causes her to be rebellious, where she has her whole grotto of other human-like things around her. She finds other souvenirs and objects in abandoned ships and adds them to her collection, and she's keeping all of that a secret from her father so that he doesn't know a lot of stuff that she's been doing. Where most of this film is her trying to focus on her dream and wondering how she is gonna live that dream. And when you see her get that dream and fall in love with Eric, that becomes a happy thing for her. And since now we're at this point, let's talk about Ariel, who in recent years has been getting a lot of hate from people, mostly because a lot of people don't think she's a well-written character because she gave up her voice for a man and didn't really think it over and just left everything for him. Well, I can kind of see why they would think that, but I personally don't agree because obviously those haters did not rewatch this film. She talks about what kind of activities that humans do, like either dancing or walking. Like, she mentions all of that before she sees Eric on the ship. And when she rescues Eric and falls in love with her, that makes her want to follow her dream even more. That makes her want to go to the mainland and go with the people even more. And she's not ignoring her whole family just to be with Eric. She's still gonna have them around, but her father, King Triton, is not happy with her being with the humans because humans just hunt fish and use them for food, which Triton can be pretty tough on her, but he is doing the best he can for her. And sometimes he can go too extreme with that because after he finds out that she's in love with Eric and finds her grotto, he destroys everything in her grotto right in front of her. And after he does that, he feels terrible for doing that. And then after Ariel disappears, he feels even worse for doing that, where he knows that he's trying to do something that's best for her, but he realizes that that moment was too far. And after that happens, that gets Ursula to try to manipulate Ariel to signing her contract and making her human. So it becomes understandable why Ariel would want to make this deal, because her father is just restricting her from the human world a lot and takes everything away from her just like that. Where a lot of people will understand where Ariel is coming from and they understand the issues that she's dealing with throughout the film. Even I understand the issues that she's going through, and every time I watch it, I feel sympathy for her. But that's just my opinion about Ariel. If you don't like Ariel, then that's fine. We all have our own opinions. That's just how I feel about the character. And even when this film first came out, a lot of people loved Ariel back then, and there are still some people out there that still love Ariel as a character as well, and there's even people that I know that love Ariel. And for me, Ariel is one of my favorite Disney princesses of all time, up there with Belle from Beauty and the Beast and Mulan. So now that I've said all my positives and defended Ariel, let's talk about the other stuff that makes this film great, like the animation. Like, when you see the characters talking underwater, you get the feeling that you're underwater as well, mostly with how the characters move and how the bubbles would start coming up and you would see beam of lights either from above them or just like on the ground. It definitely gives you the feeling that you're underwater with them. But the biggest highlight in this film is with Ariel, because after she gives her voice to Ursula, she mostly has to use her face and her body movement to get us to understand what she's thinking just from her moving. And they used a lot of rotoscoping with Ariel just to make her movements look realistic, which leads to some funny moments where you see Ariel experiencing something that she's been wanting to see for years. But of course, she can't act like herself too much because other people around her would think that she's too odd. Now, this film has a lot of great characters. I already covered Ariel in Triton, but I'm also going to talk about the one character that used to scare me when I was a kid, and that is the main villain of this film, Ursula. She is the sea witch that manipulates Ariel and talks her into giving her voice to her so that she can make a deal with her, and when their deal is done, she can take both her and King Triton as her little garden of worm things. I don't know much about fish, and I don't really know what that garden is supposed to be, making her one of the best Disney villains of all time. And we're really lacking that with Disney films nowadays with its villains. Why can't the Disney films in today's time be as good as the villains like Ursula or Scar from The Lion King? We mostly be getting lackluster villains in Disney films nowadays. Come on, we need a great Disney film that's as good as those villains. Like, this is something we've been lacking nowadays. Come on, Disney, we need great Disney villains that are as good as those villains. Which, by the way, this movie can be pretty dark and intense at times, like the shark scene from the beginning of the film, or the hurricane scene, or when Triton destroys Ariel's grotto, or with both Ursula and her garden, or in that one scene where Sebastian finds the chef's kitchen and he sees a whole bunch of dead fish as food around him. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you don't see in Disney films nowadays, not even with the 2023 live-action remake. Now let's talk about another thing that makes this film iconic, and they are the songs done by Alan Menken and the late Howard Ashman. Their songs are some of the best songs in the whole film, and every time I listen to them, they never get old for me. Where you have songs like Kiss the Girl, the Oscar-winning song Under the Sea, Poor Unfortunate Souls, and Part of Your World, which is my personal favorite song from this film. The score itself is also really good. It definitely matches the tone for the songs and for the film itself, and it is also a great listen to if you want to calm down. And it's also a great listen if you're either having a hard time at work or school and you just want to listen to something to help relax and to just calm your mind. And that's what I do sometimes with a soundtrack. Like, after I would have a day at the workshop, I would just listen to that soundtrack and just relax. And sometimes when you have soundtracks in a Disney film like this, they can be really good to listen to help relax too. This and Finding Nemo have some of the best soundtrack for that. But now that I've covered a lot of this film, might as well talk about the main part of this film, and that is the romance between Ariel and Eric. And that's supposed to show how their romance starts after Ariel rescues him. Now this part of the film, I will admit, is unfortunately the weakest part, because it feels a little underdeveloped, where you understand a lot about Ariel, but you don't really understand a whole lot about Eric. You mostly know that he loves going in the sea, and he falls in love with Ariel all because of her voice. And we're supposed to see that blossom throughout the film with him overlooking that voice and just loving her for who she is, even though we all know that she is the mermaid that rescued him. Where Eric isn't a bad character, he's just not as well developed as Ariel, making their romance slowly blossom in only just 3 days of Ariel's spell not fully developed. So I think this movie could have had like an extra 5 or 10 minutes of that development, where the romance isn't bad, it's a good romance, but I would have liked it more if it had a little bit more development. But The Little Mermaid is still one of my favorite Disney films of all time, where I still watch it and enjoy it as an adult. It's one of my favorite Disney films of all time, and it will always have a special place in my heart. I'm gonna give The Little Mermaid an A. So guys, if you have seen The Little Mermaid, what do you think about it? Do you think it's a great movie, or do you think it didn't age well? Let me know in the comments below. Also, which Disney princess is your favorite? Let me know that in the comments as well. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.